Year 2011, and my daughter was just about 21 then, and it was her first job. I was in the UK, she was in Chennai. She used to be working to UK time and working with a company, a corporate, for tech support. So there were most of the time she would be driving back home on her two-wheeler at 2 o'clock and 2:30 in the morning alone. One morning, I get a call from her. I've just woken up in the UK, get a call from her. She says, "Mom, I wanted to tell you something." I said, "Go ahead." There are no secrets between the two of us. So she says, yesterday, whilst I was on my tech support, I spent about 3 hours with this gentleman, supposedly from Scotland. And after taking him through the entire support, I had to actually take over his computer because he hadn't any idea what he needed to do. So I told him, if it's difficult for you, just I'll take over your laptop and then I'll do everything for you and hand it over. So he said, "Okay, my love, I trust you." And that's how they speak, the Brits. So he says, "Okay, my love, I trust you." And he handed over his laptop to her. So after about 2 hours of work, she sorted out all his problems and said, "Here you go, sir. It's all done." And then she says, "This is the first time that in the past 6 months I'm getting a message like this from somebody." So he says, "Darling, you've really made my life so easy today and I'm so thankful to you for this. I'd like to have your number, or I'd like to contact you just for the future." So she says, and then he went on to tell her, he says, "Listen, love, I'm 83, so I'm not hitting on you." But then Divya told me, "But Mom, he didn't sound 83. He sounded like he was in his 60s or so. But then somewhere I felt this connect with him, I felt this connect with him. And I said, "Sir, I can't give you my number because of, office policy, but this is my email and you can reach me on this." I said, "Great job done, Divya, wonderful. Now hand over that email to me as well." So I'll send him a message from my side saying that this is Divya's mother, and you know what? I live in the UK, so I'm pretty close to where you are. Just in case he acts funny with you, so I'm there, back up. So we did that. And then the very next day, I shot off an email to Callum. That was his name, or his name which he had given us, we thought. So I shot off this message to Callum, and of course his email said Callum Ferguson. So it went off and she sent him a message, and the three of us got in touch with each other. And I spoke to him on the phone as well. And then the next thing Divya heard from him was, "My love, could you send me, I'm writing my 22nd book. I'm writing my 22nd book, and I'm looking out for some content. I'm actually looking out for a person by the name of, General MacLeod, and he is buried in one of the cemeteries in Madras." So we say Madras has become Chennai now. Okay. So Divya says, "Mom, where do I go?" I said, "Divya, check out with my cousin Jean and Alfred. They live in Chennai." She was very close to them. I said, "Check out with them and they will know where this is." Now these cemeteries were from the 1890s. This person who he was looking for was buried in 1890. So there goes Divya, Alfred and Jean to the cemetery near Chennai Central, where the oldest of graves are located in Chennai. And they go searching through shrubs, literally, with the man. They pay him at the gate. This was after many emails, okay? It's about 2-3 months since we know Callum Ferguson now. So Divya goes with my cousins, and they actually have to shovel through mud and clean up graves, and then they find the grave of General MacLeod. They not only find one grave, They found MacLeod's grave, they found his daughter's grave, his other daughter's grave, and 2 of his sons-in-law's graves. So Divya takes a picture of all these graves. They're very typically Scottish graves, not the regular tombstone. They're very decorative. You know, they're about 7 feet tall, very typically Gaelic graves. So they find all this, take photographs and send it off to him. And he is over the moon with this information. He says, I asked you for one and you've given me the entire family. This is amazing. So he was, now that was 2010. 2011, Divya and Dheeraj come over to London, Rugby, where I am. And we're all in touch with Callum now, Divya and myself at least. And I speak to him over the telephone. So he said, okay, so Divya and Dheeraj are in Dheeraj, that's what he called it. So Divya and Dheeraj are in town. I would like all of you to come over to the Isle of Lewis. And that is where Callum Ferguson lived. He used to work with the BBC and presently an author. So he writes in Gaelic and in English. So he says, come over to the Isle of Lewis. My dear friends, those of you who know that little island of the United Kingdom, first of all, the British and the Scottish are not very fond of each other. At least the Scottish are not very fond of the English. Okay, because the English troubled them quite a bit. Now, he says, come over and you can stay in my holiday home, which is on the Atlantic Ocean. So we travel 1,000 kilometers from Rugby to Edinburgh. That's a 10-hour drive. So we drive down to Edinburgh. And from Edinburgh, my dear friends, it's like from England moving to Scotland. The very moment you cross that invisible border between the two, you realize that Scotland is so beautiful, so laid back, so green. It's just brilliant. And from Edinburgh, we reach Edinburgh, and from Edinburgh, we've got to go to a place called Ullapool. Ullapool is on the sea, at the end of the sea. Okay? To reach Ullapool from Edinburgh is about 350 kilometers. Absolutely beautiful, not a single electricity cable anywhere. It's just green, different, 100 shades of green. 100 shades of green and yellow, and it's just hills and hills and hills. And we go in from a higher level, we are going down towards the ocean, so you can just see up to the horizon is green. And the mountains are absolutely brilliant, my dear friends. Starts off with a darker blue, the heather. The heather is the grass, the different colored grass. And as the shadows of sunlight fall on these hills, 100 shades of purple, a light lavender, a dark purple, a darker purple, brilliant. And then you see the ocean. So we reach Ullapool and then drive into one of the ferries and get into the ferry. It's another 100 kilometers to Stornoway, the island. And it's, none of us know that there are so many islands around the United Kingdom in the Atlantic. 145 islands is what the inner and the outer Hebrides are made out of. 145 islands. Some of them have inhabited, some of them absolutely no habitation on them. So we go on this 3.5-hour ferry ride and reach the Isle of Lewis or Stornoway, and there is our young 83-year-old young man, prim and proper, with his hat and his walking stick and his wife in tow, waiting for us at the ferry's end. So he picks us up, takes us to his home for this wonderful meal which is prepared by both of them, and then after a nice meal he drops us off at the home, which is just on the Atlantic Ocean. And then he tells us, he says, you're not going to pay me for this. I'm not like the British. You're not going to pay me for this. I'm not like the British. It's very clear to make that statement. And the next 4 days, we were with this wonderful couple, their daughter and their 3 grandchildren. My dear friends, to take you to the end of this. So we said, tell us a little more. And the entire 5 days that we were with them, it was story after story after story. Such a brilliant storyteller. Such a brilliant storyteller. So he takes us to an old pub and he says, you know, the whole lot of them whom you went looking for in those cemeteries in Madras, 215 years back, the British ships came on to the Isle of St. Kilda. The soldiers just got into the local pubs and they said, the drinks are on the Queen. All drinks on the Queen. So obviously the local men who were sitting in the pubs, they drank themselves, right? It was on the Queen. The Queen was paying for it. So they drank. And what happened when they downed their mugs of Guinness? At the end of it, they landed up having a coin in their mouth. I think a penny or a quarter penny in their mouth. So they picked up the coin. And then the soldiers who were in those pubs, they said, that's your first payment. You're on the Queen's roll now. They were hurdled up and put on these ships and sailed straight to India. They were taken to India, all young, burly men from the island of St. Kilda. They went off, and where did they come? Just 150 kilometers from here to Srirangapatnam to fight Tipu Sultan. They didn't even have time to meet their families. And that's how, do you know, the glasses actually began. The beer mugs used to be of wood earlier. And when this first lot of guys got taken this way, made idiots of, and got paid by the Queen and they didn't know there was money, and that's when they started the glass bottoms on beer mugs. So they would look, has anybody put a coin in there? Is anybody sending us off to fight for them? They would look and then down their beers. So those were the men, my dear friends, from that little island of St. Kilda, who went to fight, who came to fight Tipu Sultan in Srirangapatnam, 1799. A lot of them died in the battle. A lot of them then came back to Bangalore and then went on to Chennai. And that was the General MacLeod who and his family, who were then stationed in Chennai, lived and died in Chennai. But there were hundreds of other soldiers who never went back to St. Kilda and to Scotland, but died in India. So, just a story which I said, I don't think Divya would ever have realized the connection she was making on that one phone call. Sometimes we never ever know how those connections go. She was meant to take that phone call that day, and to end it, we all landed up as one chapter in the book of Callum Ferguson. So all of us are in his book. We are on one of the chapters about this whole story of finding the forgotten men of St. Kilda who landed up in a cemetery in Madras. Thank you.